She is a former stage magician and stage hypnotist. He was voted Variety Entertainer of the Year in the Excellence in the Arts Awards. Did we mention they also used to be married to each other? Now they have rejoined forces for a talk radio show?
I've had a very uneventful life. I mean, there's no secrets. I lived with this person for a few years.
There was that time you drove to Mesquite naked.
Well, but I'm not ashamed of that. I don't even remember it. I don't really even remember.
You forget there was a third occupant in the car with us, alcohol.
Oh, well.
No wonder you don't remember
the car, but before we left. But that was to Laughlin. It wasn't to Mesquite, by the way.
I thought you didn't remember it.
Oops.
Wow.
From the East Coast to the West, all across America, two voices of logic and reason, live from the entertainment capital of the world, Victoria Wayne and Doug Basham. They are Exes on the Air.
Raise a little hell, raise a little hell.
Well, let's have at it, folks. It's another wayward, wicked day here in Las Vegas. If you've got some time, let's talk. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Doug Basham.
And I'm Victoria Wayne, and welcome to another unpredictable edition of Exes on the Air.
That's right, folks. Get this. Divorced for what, 15, 16 years?
17, 18 years.
During that, it's getting longer every week. During that time, no contact with each other whatsoever, not a phone call, not an email, not even a tweet. And yet here we are reunited, at least as host on the air, to bring you folks your weekly reality radio show, whereupon we take a look at the lighter side of the news most of the time. The website is www.exes, that's E-X-S, exesontheair.com. The address to email us on the air or off is show@exesontheair.com. And while you're at our website, look for the links to both our Facebook and Twitter pages. Follow us on Twitter. Be our friend on Facebook. Well, V, any news stories that caught your attention this week?
No, there's none. But, you know, the reason why I knew without remembering that was not Mesquite, but Laughlin, that little thing that you just played in the beginning from last week's show, is because you and I have never been to Mesquite. So that's how I knew that.
Well,
I just thought I'd throw that in.
But by the same token, it could have been any other city, but you nailed Laughlin right away.
Well, because it's the only place you ever took me. You never took me anywhere else except Laughlin.
I don't think the people needed to know that. So you have no news stories that piqued your attention?
No news stories.
Well, me neither. Want to just leave and go do happy hour?
I would love to do happy hour.
Okay, folks, you all talk to yourselves, and we'll be back next week. Actually, I do have a couple stories.
No, they should join us for happy hour.
Including a follow-up to a story we discussed last week, which was probably one of, if not the most moving story we have ever brought to this audience. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no idea.
It was a story we called Bottoms Up, the story about the college kids in Tennessee who gave each other alcohol enemas.
Oh, no.
And remember, the one kid had to be taken to the hospital with an alcohol content the doctors called toxic and deadly.
Well, of course.
Well, now, this student is saying he would never, ever do an alcohol enemy because of his religion.
Enemy or enema?
Enema. Well, is there a difference?
No.
Folks, an alcohol enema is your enemy. Anyhow, he's saying he would never do that because of his religion. He's inferring that maybe his college buddies did it to him without his consent. In other words, legitimate rape.
I was just going to say, yes.
You know what I mean? In other words, to paraphrase an old saying, with friends like this, put sunglasses on.
Oh, my God.
Who needs enemas? And we will get to this story and others momentarily.
But before that, before we do that, let me remind you that any of our stories that we do discuss on this show, that we have the link to the full story on our website. And again, that is exesontheair.com. And our website is also a blog, which means that you can post your comments on any of these news stories that you hear
Or you can just call us on the air now during this hour while we're live and tell us your take in person.
That would be great. Our number here at the station is 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396. Or you can email us at show@exesontheair.com.
And by the way, we should mention that today and tomorrow are the last 2 days of the Renaissance Fair.
Yes.
Something that you and I actually went and checked out yesterday.
I know. They were very, very sweet to take me there.
Did you have fun?
I had big fun. I
have never been before. I didn't know what to expect, but I found it very interesting. I have never seen so many push-up bras in my life.
I wait all year for that. I liked it better at Sunset Park, but I love it there. But you were very, very sweet, and it was a shock and surprise.
After yesterday, I can't wait to go again. Seriously, I haven't seen that much breast skin since I was 2 weeks old.
Oh, they're still open. We should go after the show.
I don't know if I can take it. This is kind of a yearly thing. Remember that one with the kid?
Yes.
I mean, that gal?
Yes.
She could have fed Michigan for a month.
They were large.
And then the other one we saw with the little bit of a tummy with the beard.
That was unusual.
That was.
Yeah, it's a bunch of characters, but God, I love that. I love that. Very New Orleans-y to me, just everything's acceptable and anyone dresses the way they want and does, but I mean, it's in the, Renaissance theme, but it's wonderful.
It was interesting. Some of the costumes were amazing.
Uh-huh.
Both that people were wearing and ones that they had for sale. You know something else I learned yesterday?
Tell me.
What does a 75-year-old woman have between her breasts that a 25-year-old doesn't?
I don't know.
Her navel.
Ooh. Okay. That's
Probably
just
should have
sad.
done the sunglasses for that one.
That's just sad.
You know why God gave women breasts?
Why?
So men would talk to them.
Okay.
I know that was a little bad. Okay, I got a story here. Before we get to the alcohol animal one, this is a more serious story.
Yes.
More than once on this show, we have discussed the issue of redefining rape, as in legitimate rape, forcible rape. Every time I have said that this isn't something that needs to be redefined. And once you open the door, not that I can understand any reasonable non-misogynistic person wanting to, but if you do, nothing good is going to come of it. And 1 week we featured 3 stories.
Okay.
That made my point. Remember, we had the 2 16-year-old star athletes. They pleaded guilty to first-degree sexual assault on a 16-year-old that was so drunk they had to carry her upstairs after they were finished.
Oh, these stories are so awful. Go
Those
on.
were the ones that were given 1 week of community service. The chief prosecutor, an alumnus of the convicted athletes, told the victim, quote, "Get over it and see a therapist. Jail is for real rapists," unquote. Not legitimate rape.
I remember.
Then we had the one of the 11-year-old who was gang raped by 20 men.
Yes,
The first man, a convicted 20-year-old, he confessed. There was DNA, there was video, and yet one woman said, quote, "It's not as bad as what they're saying. Nobody tied her up," end quote.
There's more to
Therefore,
all these
not
stories.
legitimate rape.
There's more to these stories, I'm sure, and they keep me up at night. So, what's your point?
The last one
Yes.
was the cop in the bar, sexually molested a woman. He got 2 weeks of community service. The judge told the victim, bad things can happen in bars. Other people might be more intoxicated than you are. If you wouldn't have been there that night, none of this would have happened
I
to you.
remember these
End quote.
horrible stories.
Well,
yes.
on the heels of those stories, I have one today I think is perhaps the saddest and sorriest story yet.
Just what I want to hear is something sad. Go on.
Well, what do you want to hear? Something happy?
I want to talk about my colonics this
We
week.
did happy yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Today, we get back to reality.
This is
Okay.
reality?
Yes,
I'd rather talk about my colonics.
you would.
Yeah, of course.
No, how many did you have this week?
I had 2 more colonics this week.
Great.
I feel extra free and light and perky and good. I mean, it's really having an effect on me. It's giving me energy.
Well, then you should be able to handle these stories I'm throwing at you.
No one can handle these stories. No one. Anyway, if you want a colonic anywhere, go see Donna at the hydrotherapy clinic in Las Vegas. And their number is 471-0088. 471-0088. See Donna. If you want a colonic, they are the least expensive and the absolute best place to go. Okay.
Back in 2008, I'm setting up the story for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was
A
confused. for a second.
28-year-old man in Connecticut was convicted of sexually assaulting a 26-year-old woman and sentenced to 6 years in prison.
Okay.
Let me tell you a bit about this gal.
Oh, wait a second. She after all these years said that he was not the one?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I'm going to tell you about the girl
I
right
saw
now.
that movie.
She is severely handicapped. She has cerebral palsy. She is mentally retarded. She has the intellectual functionality of a 3-year-old.
Okay.
She can't speak. She has little movement. In fact, she is so physically restricted, she can only communicate using her right index finger.
Oh.
So now fast forward to 2012. This week, the Connecticut Supreme Court threw out this man's conviction. Why? Because the judges felt that even though she is extremely handicapped, there was no evidence she could not communicate her refusal
With her one finger.
to have sex with this guy.
Because her communications with one finger.
Exactly.
Yes. I'd rather talk about the colonics.
The ruling centers, we're not going to. The ruling center, you already did. The ruling centers around the state
It's more interesting.
proving that the victim was physically helpless at the time of the attack, which is defined as, quote, unconscious or for any other reason is physically unable to communicate unwillingness to an act, end quote. Now, in spite of the extreme difficulty this gal has trying to communicate, the court ruled that she could have tried to stop the alleged attack by using various nonverbal methods, including biting, kicking, and scratching.
I don't believe it. I don't believe that. I believe there's a lot more to this story. This is illogical.
Why does there
This can't
what?
be.
You think that our society and our legal system is sane? I mean,
Well,
you don't think these things happen? You say, oh, there's got to be more. No, there doesn't. People are stupid. We are a flawed species. These things happen. There's not necessarily anything behind them. They is what they is.
Well, sometimes, yes, sometimes that's true, but
I mean, I could bring you 100 stories like this, and we can't just write them. Well, there's got to be more to this story.
I'm sure you can.
I can.
I'm sure you can.
And they're all legit. I mean, I didn't find this on one
It's
site.
all
I
legit.
searched the fellow's name. It's on thousands of websites. It's a legitimate story. But because she didn't bite, kick, or scratch, they ruled that no reasonable jury could have concluded that she was physically helpless as defined by law, and in turn, his conviction was overruled.
She had a really bad lawyer. That's it. She had
No
a
kidding,
really
huh?
bad attorney.
No kidding. Now, that might be the part that we're not getting.
Yes.
I mean, I think
Yes.
that's probably obvious. But here's the actual verbiage of the ruling.
Yes.
Quote, we are not persuaded that the state produced any credible evidence, that's her attorney, that the victim was either unconscious or so uncommunicative that she was physically incapable of manifesting to the defendant her lack of consent to sexual intercourse at the time of the alleged sexual assault. Excuse me? This girl's mind is 3 years old. Number one, no 3-year-old can give sexual consent. Number two, no 3-year-old even knows what sex is.
Well, that's what makes me think there's more. So what interests you about consensual rape? Why are you so preoccupied with this topic?
Because you've got morons in Washington that are trying to redefine rape. Rape is rape. You don't need to add forcible. You don't need to add legitimate. You don't need to tell a 3-year-old you should have kicked him. You didn't, therefore you wanted it. And I don't understand why you want to move on to a colonic story and other women aren't outraged enough to pick up the phone and say, yeah, who is this Supreme Court? Who are these people? And be outraged about it. It's like women love misogyny. I don't get it. That's what interests me about it.
Okay.
I think it should interest everybody.
You're very emotional about it, but I think there's a difference between forcible rape and when it's, with a minor, not one minor, but with someone that's statutory rapist. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I think that's what they're trying to differentiate between statutory rape and.
Well, you're right. There's a difference between an ocean and a river, but at the end of the day, they're both wet.
Okay.
So why do we need to make all these distinctions is my question.
Don't we have happy stories?
Right. Well, of course we do, but they're not interesting. They're not news.
And this is. Okay. I mean,
you don't think this is news? I am shocked.
It's the kind of news I don't like to listen to. It's depressing. It's sad. It's negative. And I think there's more to the story.
That, my dear, is what news is.
Well, that's why I don't watch a lot of news.
Anna Doragazi, Director of Public Policy and Communication at Connecticut Sexual Assault Crisis Services, said in a statement, quote, the court's interpretation of what it means to be physically helpless jeopardizes the safety of people with disabilities. By implying that the victim in this case should have bitten or kicked her assailant, This ruling effectively holds people with disabilities to a higher standard than the rest of the population. Failing to bite an assailant is not the same thing as consenting to sexual activity.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Well,
I think these judges should be removed from the bench immediately. I mean, she didn't bite, kick, scratch. Therefore, she wanted it. At 3 years old mentality.
Yeah, I don't know. Something we're missing here. That's illogical. So there's got to be something more to this.
Well, I think this is the prime example of the pending collapse of Western civilization. A man that should never again live outside a prison cell is freed on the legal precedent of she deserved it. Hey, did you see the sexy way she was wiggling her index finger?
Yeah, but they don't. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's on the lighter side of the news.
Okay. We'll do our follow-up to last week's alcohol enema story.
Oh, okay.
And now you don't like this one. See, this is happier.
This is happier.
It involves alcohol. Let me ask you something. What kind of a story could I bring in here that you would approve of?
You've brought some nice ones.
Name one.
I can't remember right now.
See?
But you have brought some nice
made.
ones.
You are a pain in the ass when it comes to news stories.
Can you say that?
Huh?
Can you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
I just did.
Okay.
Anyhow, maybe you'll like this one.
Okay.
It has a twist to it.
Yes.
This is the story we brought you last week, folks. The alcohol enema story. The Tennessee butt chuggers, if you will. By the way, that'd be a great name for a rock band, wouldn't it?
No.
No? Okay. No. Tennessee butt chuggers. I kind of like it. Now, if you recall, some students at the University of Tennessee were giving each other alcohol enemies. I found out. You know what they used? Franzia Sunset Blush Wine. Is that one of your favorites?
Oh, no. I don't drink.
Not now, huh?
I don't drink wine out of a box.
Oh, is that a box wine?
Yes, you just said.
I said Franzia Sunset Blush Wine.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it is. I'm pretty sure that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't.
Anyhow, one of these students, Alexander Broughton, had to be taken to the hospital with injuries to his rectum so severe, the hospital thought he'd been sodomized.
This is the lighter side?
Rectum damn near killed him.
Okay.
And a blood alcohol content almost 6 times the legal limit. The doctors called his level of alcohol toxic and deadly. One of his friends told police that Alexander had been butt chugging in order to get drunk faster. Well, this week, Alexander denied using an alcohol enema because of his religion. His friend now denies telling police about the butt chugging, and Alexander's threatening legal action against the police for, as he put it, and I'm going to try and say this with a straight face, for leaking information. Hey, giggity, giggity. And here's what Alexander had to say. Quote, "The use of an alcohol enema was the most gross idea I have ever heard. I would never do such a thing. I am a Christian who would never desecrate my body in that manner. To do so would be against God's law." Translation, I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove a thing because Jesus. Also, Mommy and Daddy, please don't cut off my college tuition. You see, this is why parts of the world hate us. It's not for our freedom. It's because we butt chug booze and then hide behind Jesus.
Well, I do think it's a sin to abuse our bodies. Our bodies are a gift.
Well, I agree, but if he's talking about God's law, I mean, you could say, well, it's, respect for the temple is what they call it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, well, the temple has 2 doors. I don't think God cares which door you use to facilitate the destruction.
That's true. Destruction
so in other words,
is destruction.
I would never do that. Of course, I would drink enough to give myself an alcohol limit so high that I crap my pants and it looks like I've been sodomized.
Can you say that? You're saying all kinds of things I don't think you can say.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I've been doing this for a while.
All
I know
right.
what words you can say.
All right.
Damn it. and there's another one. So let's break this down. He's a Christian who would never desecrate his body in an alcohol enema manner. So he's going to say that he drank enough booze to create this situation. Why? Because that's more in line with what God wanted him to do? That's a good idea, kids. Stick with this one.
Well, self-abuse is self-abuse. But
exactly.
I can't understand the hazing thing. That whole thing I find also very, very disturbing is that you relinquish your power completely to somebody else. That I want to be in this club and I want to be accepted so badly. I will do anything you say. Oh, you want to put a tube where full of what? Okay, I want to be in your club. I mean,
that was diplomatic. A tube where full of what?
That's nuts.
Very diplomatic. I'm wondering, well, what if they use the Franzia wine, of which, of course, I'm not familiar.
I think that's a box wine, but I'm not sure. I'm not
What
sure.
if they had used communion wine? Could you put that up here, Patootie? Would that be all right?
No, nothing.
I was just curious.
Nothing but purified spring water.
And I just like to tell this Alexander, I did a search in the Bible. I didn't come up with any mention of butt chugging. I think he's probably okay.
You've never searched the Bible in your life.
No, but it was a line I thought of, and I had to do that first part to make the second part make sense.
Now I understand, yes.
But I'm reasonably sure there's no mention of butt chugging in there. If someone would like to prove me wrong, by all means, pick up the phone, call in 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396. I would really like to know what you think about this 3-year-old who was raped, and then the conviction was overturned because she didn't resist enough. But that was just the first story.
Mentally 3 years old.
Now, we learned last week when police went to this frat house to investigate,
Yes.
they found several other young men passed out also from butt chugging. And they said there was evidence to suggest same.
You're coining a new phrase now.
we can only imagine what that other evidence was. But let me read this part of the story.
Yes.
Alexander said he has no recollection of losing control of his bowels and defecating on himself, according to a university police report that includes photos of the mess left behind in the fraternity house after the party.
You're very preoccupied with poop. You always were. You always were preoccupied with poop.
Isn't everyone?
Well,
I mean, this from the colonic queen, the person who goes and gets 17 colonics a week is accusing me of being preoccupied with poop. I don't follow.
2 a week for a limited period of time, 3 for the first 2 weeks. But anyway.
But I'm preoccupied with
But I'm
poop.
doing something healthy for myself. You're just preoccupied.
I'm doing something healthy too. I am informing the general public how crazy parts of our society are.
When we were married, you were into all that area, and that, that was disturbing to me then. But yeah, I remember that you're into that.
Well, then you should expect this. Stop acting so surprised. You would expect a story like this from a guy who is, as you say, preoccupied with poop, although I have no idea what you're talking about, and I don't want to hear any more. Just in case there's an element of truth to it. That could prove embarrassing.
Yes, we never went to Mesquite. It was Laughlin.
Yeah, I got that. Okay, now get this. Even with all this evidence, the photographs, the people that said we were butt chugging, he's still going to sue. I mean, I think this really shows the mentality of your typical overprivileged frat jerk. Buy your friends, purchase your way through life, and sue anyone who gets in the way. Oh, and this is the best part. I saved this.
Yes.
Alexander said media reports have implied he is gay, which he isn't.
Okay.
I find that funny, his obvious sexual insecurity. I read the original story again just to make sure. Nowhere in it did anybody even suggest he might be gay.
Okay.
I did. I mean, I said, boy, this sounds Liberace gay. But I mean, I'm hardly the media covering this story. But I think it's interesting how people associate the willingness of one to insert things into his or her badunkadunk and being gay.
Well, I think it would be, these pledges want to be part of their fraternity so desperately that they'll succumb to anything. Where I think,
I think you're right.
I think it's the other people that are creating these bizarre requirements that they're the ones that are having the hidden agenda.
Exactly. Those are the ones that deserve your scorn, not I. I'm merely the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
You were always into the tush.
You said that.
Yes.
Well, tushes are nice. You have a nice tush.
Thank you. But
and if you don't believe me, ask Donna.
Donna?
No one's seen your tush more lately than Donna.
Oh, from the colon, Donna from the colon.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, it's Michelle. And no one sees anything.
Well, you always tell everybody to go see Donna.
Well, she's the owner and the facilitator.
Okay, so Michelle.
But Michelle is the technician, but she...
Semantics.
No one sees anything. You are under a big towel.
I understand.
Big white, fluffy, clean towel, and you insert yourself, and it's private, and no one sees anything, and they give you a glove, and it's clean, and...
I just wanted to tell Alexander that your use of an alcohol enema never implied you were gay. It implied you were a moron.
Yes.
But it didn't imply that you were gay.
Yes.
And this is an implication now confirmed by the fact that he's threatening legal action over his own stupidity.
Yes.
And again, you are the resident expert on stories like this, not I. You are the reigning colonic queen.
Yes, but that has nothing to do with
You have things inserted in your caboose on an average of 2-3 times a week, and you're the most heterosexual woman I know.
Water, purified water.
I understand that.
Yes. Well, nothing. Oh my goodness! I don't want anything.
Would you
else
ever try an alcohol?
No, certainly not. And I don't even want to do the other thing that you were into in the day. Yeah, no, none of that. I don't want anything there.
Well, that was pretty obvious.
Yeah, nothing should touch Mr. Sphincter.
Mister?
Anything that
you have a male sphincter?
Anything that does things that disgusting has got to be a man.
Mademoiselle?
No,
sphincter?
It's Mr. Sphincter to you. Yeah,
anyhow, I think this is the wrong course of action for Alexander Buttchugger. I mean, if you just said, yeah, I was stupid, I tried something stupid, I blacked out, dumb thing to do, I'm embarrassed, it would have been over.
Yeah, that's what they say about hamsters.
But now he gives a press conference. Well, just going along with the music there. Anyhow, it would have all been done. But no, he calls a press conference, and now he's suing. We'll be back after this, folks. Stay with us. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Doug Basham, along with my lovely and talented co-host, Victoria Wayne, who also just so happens to be my ex-wife. That's right, folks. We used to be married to each other, hence the name of the show, Exes on the Air. Uh-huh. If you would like to weigh in on anything we have discussed so far or anything we haven't. And remember, again, folks, we have stories we bring up. That doesn't mean that's what you have to call and talk about. If you have something else you would like to talk about, we'd be happy to listen. Isn't that right, Victoria?
Absolutely.
Give them the phone numbers. Page 2.
You do that purposely.
Well, I'm anxious or curious to know when you're finally going to have them memorized.
When we get 2 hours instead of 1. Our number here at the station is 257-KDWN. That's 257-5396. Please call us so I don't have to spend all this time talking to my ex-husband alone.
Oh, that was cold. That's the nature of the show.
I meant no harm. But please call in so we have a third person.
Oh, in the dust. 50 Shades of Grey is the fastest selling paperback of all time. Now, this story, it comes to us from Missouri, the legitimate rape state. Oh. One man, Ed Bagley, has been arrested and will soon stand trial on 11 counts of abuse against a woman authorities say he groomed to be his sex slave. But check out what part of the prosecutor's evidence is going to be. Ed and his wife have long been into S&M.
Yes.
And for all you liberals out there, that stands for sadism and masochism.
I think everybody knows that. Go on.
Oh. Well, I wasn't quite sure. Now, prosecutors say Ed has a history of abusing women because of acts he and his wife consensually engaged in. In fact, he's been charged with abusing his wife. That's one of his charges.
Okay.
Now, the wife has come out and said, look, these acts were consensual. It's just part of our quote-unquote lifestyle.
Right.
But he's been charged nonetheless. Uh-huh. And this is from the story. S&M advocates fear that it will cause a negative public reaction to their lifestyle choices, which have already come to public attention, partly because of E.L. James' book. Some worry the government's assertion could open people up who practice bondage, open people up to charges who practice bondage, dominism, sadism, and masochism, to criminal charges for consensual acts they've already performed. But the interesting part of the story is that they're using this man's past consensual history with his wife as evidence that he has abused women.
Well, did she make a complaint? I'm lost.
No, the sex slave, that's another girl.
Oh, okay.
See, the one that Ed was training to be a sex slave, that's a third party. Both Ed and his wife are facing charges concerning her, including keeping her captive for years.
Well, did she consent to this?
According to them, yes, she did, until several years later when she went and filed a complaint. But she was with Ed and his wife for several years before she went and complained. Now, they have a lot of charges. They have a lot of charges. Keeping her captive for years, making her work as a stripper, posting photographs on fetish internet sites, making her work as a dancer at strip clubs. Ed's wife's charges include sex trafficking and forced labor trafficking.
Well, we don't know what actually went on. But usually when you play games like that, there's a code word, a safety word. And
a safe word.
Yes, and if she wasn't really consenting, she would have given the safe word, and if it was really a game, they would have let her go immediately, because those are the rules.
But see, back in the day, I remember telling you there's a problem when your safe word is continue. So, I mean, is it Ed's and his wife's fault that she forgot the safe word?
No, she wouldn't have. They were really just consenting and playing
games. Now,
games.
here, I will agree with you that there's more to the story involving this third party than perhaps we know.
Sure.
The part I found interesting is that they're going to use Ed's and his wife's history as proof or evidence that he's an abuser of women. And if they're practicing the S&M lifestyle, is that the same thing?
No, not if that's their chosen kink, if that's their thing and that rings their bell and that's what they're doing and everybody is consenting.
That's what gives them a buzz?
Yeah, a buzz, yes. And if that's, then that's what they do in their own private, adult consenting time, private time, then, it's none of anyone else's business.
Here's what Ed's attorney said.
Yes.
Quote, like many people from all walks of life, my client and his wife engaged in what some might term alternative, but nonetheless consensual sexual activity that they both enjoyed.
Uh-huh.
The assertion that their consensual marital sex life is evidence of prior criminal activity is nonsensical. End quote.
Yes, well, that's true. And I don't understand how, because they would have a safe word, and if this girl really was kept captive against her will, she would have... she must have been, or she would have used the safe word and they would have let her go. Because in games like that, you ask your partner, everything okay? You enjoying this? Or, are you... So something's fishy there.
I remember when we experimented briefly with this.
Yeah, that's another memory that I really, that was in Laughlin.
It was.
And because you've told me that since, but I don't remember that.
You don't remember the fuzzy handcuffs?
No, not with you. With you.
That was so unconvincing.
Not with you, I don't. I remember the fuzzy handcuffs, but not with you. No, because you were so
uptight.
Yes, yes.
I was afraid of you. I wasn't convinced you would heed the safe word. Anyhow, what do you think? Some people have suggested that this lifestyle can provide a safe, cathartic outlet for twisted desires that could lead to criminal acting out. Do you agree with that?
Well, no, it doesn't have anything to do with criminal anything. If you're into this and that's what you do, and everyone, like I said, is consenting, then there's nothing criminal about it.
Right, but in the act or in the process of engaging in these acts, sometimes pain is involved.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't have this lifestyle, could they maybe go out and do this criminally?
No, not
is what people are suggesting.
No, not if they're sane people. Not if they're sane. That it's
Again, you're expecting sanity in today's society?
It is a game of trust. And that's what it's all about, is that you have someone that you care about and respect and love, and you're playing a game that is based on trust and all these different things. And so to include somebody that's not into it, No, not if they're sane, mentally healthy individuals.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, they can take my S&M when they can pry it from my cold, dead fingers.
I don't know what that meant, but boy, it's warm in here.
No, I don't know either. Now, let me ask you.
When did you put the air on?
Well, you told me to turn it up a little bit.
A degree.
I turned it.
I
only turned it up a degree.
Okay.
So now, what do you think? Do you think that this lifestyle is fine? I mean, you don't have a problem with it, do you?
No.
As long as they're consensual?
Sure. No, I don't have any problem with any alternative lifestyle. If everybody's, over 21 and consenting. Why should anybody? It's none of anyone's business.
I agree.
Yeah.
But what do you think of them using this lifestyle as evidence against him?
No, it's wrong. I don't know. There's got to be more to this. There's got to be more to this story also, because I can't believe
there is more to the story involving the third party, the sex slave.
Right.
But as far as the other goes, that's all there is. They're using this couple's lifestyle as evidence. They've charged him with abusing his wife because him and his wife have engaged in S&M.
Well, he didn't abuse her if she wanted what they were doing.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my point.
Yes.
If she agreed to be humiliated.
Okay. Yes.
Is there an element involved in?
Can be. Could be.
Really?
Well, not that I'm any authority on this, but yes, it could be.
Well, more so than I.
Well, maybe.
You have far more pairs of fuzzy handcuffs than I do.
Not anymore.
Oh, you got rid of them.
Not anymore.
Well, all I know as far as the humiliation goes, all I know is if I'm having sex, someone's getting humiliated. And usually it's me. Anyhow, I have an extra story for you, dear.
Yes, tell me. I can't wait.
I know how much you look forward to these.
Yes, I like the extra story.
I want you to listen to just the first 2 sentences of this story.
I can't wait.
And tell me how many red flags you hear. She brought her 16-year-old son in a trash bag full of clothes on the first date. Bobby Joe Curtis, 40, told the suitor she met online she didn't have a car and he'd have to pick her up at her motel room. Is that not just rife with red flags? Trash bag luggage, the choice of the 47%, 16-year-old kid staying at a motel. I mean, any one of these could be an immediate deal breaker, couldn't they?
Yes. Not as much as cigarette smoking, but yes. Go on.
Here's what happened. Lonely guy, he found this girl on a dating site. When they met for the first time with the trash bag and the motel and the kid, she told him she was being evicted and asked if he could sleep on his couch that night. He felt bad for her. She said yes. She stayed and stayed and stayed. A few weeks later, the guy's watching TV. The woman comes up behind him and whacks him on the head with a 2x4. He hits the floor, but he's still conscious. He looks up at her, and she says, quote, "You're lucky I ain't kill you 2 days before," end quote.
It's more mentally ill people.
I have an idea that's Southern redneck speak. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and the garbage bag full of her stuff wasn't as bad as a grocery cart. That would have been a bigger red flag.
Exactly. She was at least one step above that.
Yes.
So anyhow, she beat him at least 20 times with this 2x4 before he blacked out.
Why?
And when he came to, she had taken his van, went and picked up her girlfriend who was celebrating her birthday, brought the girlfriend back to this guy's house, tied the guy to a chair, and then they took turns beating him some more.
Why didn't the guy take the 2x4 away from her?
Well, because he was unconscious.
Okay.
They tied him in a chair, and when he came to, her and her girlfriend, who was celebrating her birthday, they both started beating on him.
You should.
That sounds like a birthday celebration.
You should. Well, maybe.
I was waiting to see if one of them was going to jump out of a cake.
He didn't have a safe word, did he?
No, I don't think so.
You should go into the field of mental illness, because all of your stories are involving wacko people.
And what stories don't?
Well, there's a lot of wackos. That's true. All right. So, how does this lead to an ex's story?
Well, they became exes after this. I don't know. So, then after they took turns, the two took turns beating on him some more. They got him to give up the combination to his safe. What'd they get? Comic books, rare baseball cards, 2 guitars, his wallet, his gun collection, and his not good. And his flat screen television, and loaded it into the van. Now get this, they're loading all the stuff in this guy's van.
His flat screen television was in the safe?
No, I think that was outside.
Okay.
Yeah. The comic books and the baseball cards, I think, were in the safe. So anyhow, they're loading all the stuff into the van.
Yes.
A neighbor sees them and comes over, questions what they're doing. The girl's 16-year-old son comes up from behind and whacks the neighbor on the back of the head with a hammer.
I didn't know what to say. Okay.
When he came to, he called the cops. Now, the gal and her son were arrested the next day on charges including attempted murder, false imprisonment, and grand theft. They also caught up with the birthday girl a few days later. Now, get this. When asked why he let her stay in the first place, the guy replied, quote, "Loneliness will make you do crazy things." End quote.
I guess so.
Damn, dude, get a dog or a blow-up doll. Not a motel dweller with a bag full of clothes and a 16-year-old kid who's being evicted. Red flags.
Yes, very true.
I mean, loneliness I can understand.
Can you?
But I would
You're
not.
never lonely. You're not lonely.
No?
No. First of all, you like being alone. You're very much a loner.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
That's
you have
true.
opportunity to go out way more than you do, and you choose not to. And then you have the stuff you have on the side going on, all that stuff. So you're not lonely. That's my point.
Well, you know, I've had some awkward first dating stories,
Yes.
but after reading this one, I got to step up my game. Bruno's kind of putting me to shame on this one. You know, if I was dating someone, I wouldn't let them move in with me unless they already had their own place. That way I would know, because, you know, if she would live with me in my mother's basement when she has her own place, that's a good sign that it might be real. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
So what do you think?
More nutty people, just nutty people. So you have another story. What's your next story? Tell me it's going to be something about...
Well, I've got something stupid Kim Kardashian said,
Okay.
or a Houston police sergeant who's in hot water over naked pics.
Let's do the naked pics.
You're obsessed with nudity, aren't you?
Yeah, right.
Okay, this comes to us from Houston, Texas.
Yes.
A sergeant with the Houston Police Department has been relieved of duty pending the outcome of an investigation into some risque photos she posted on modelmayhem.com. Now, apparently she posted almost 100 pictures of herself, some of them in the nude, on this modeling site. In others, she's wearing fetish and bondage outfits.
Back to that.
Some say that she's in a, quote, compromising position.
Uh-huh.
Complicating the issue, they say, is the fact that some of her fellow cops have seen the photos. Here's the department's official policy. Quote, "Employees shall exhibit professional conduct at all times and shall not engage in any activity, including unlawful activity, that would degrade or bring disrespect upon the employee or the department." And I have pictures.
Okay, well, good. I like the pictures.
This is the young lady in question right there. These are some of the photographs from the website, modelmayhem.com.
Okay. Look at those tattoos.
Now, do you think that is in any way degrading to herself or the police department?
Well, no, but I don't know. They're nude pictures. The bathing suit is completely acceptable, but this is, she's, has a boob job and she's nude. Right? That's a boob job, right?
That would have been my guess. The question is, why? You said the bikini shot was okay.
Yeah, and I guess
So she shouldn't be relieved of duty for posing in a bikini online, but nude, yes. Now, why is that?
I don't know. This is a little sleazy. In the shower one is a little sleazy. And this is a little...
That's actually demure. I mean, she's looking down. She looks quite shy.
She's topless.
She's topless.
Look at those
She
tattoos.
was born topless.
She was born topless.
At some point in our lives, we have all been and will continue to be naked. What's the big deal? I would say the two main questions to be asked are, does this constitute a degradation of either herself or the police department? Number two, can she still do her job effectively?
Well, you don't want to, somebody in an authority, role. You don't want to, look online and see them naked.
Why?
But because we don't do that. was. I'm preoccupied with the fact that you don't have any problem with nudity. You're pretty uptight, or you were all those years ago.
I think that's shyness. I mean, it's not that I'm against nudity. I just happen to be a very shy person.
But I think you lock the bathroom door when you took a shower, and you wore a robe.
That's because you had a penchant for coming in there and throwing cold water on me.
Well, over the top of the shower, yeah. I used to enjoy that.
Yeah,
but
you wonder why I locked the door.
But you were wet anyway. But
the water was warm coming out of the shower. You threw cold water.
I did it once.
And from that point on, I locked the door.
Was being playful.
As far as I knew, the next time you would have had a 2-by-4 with your clothes in a garbage bag. And a friend who was celebrating your birthday.
Who knew?
Exactly. So to be safe, I locked the door.
No, you locked the door because you were uptight. We never went swimming naked in the pool. You were very uptight.
Number one, we didn't have a pool.
Yes, we did. We had a pool.
That's right. We did in one of the places. Yeah.
It talks about how the winters are so different. I tell this to people all the time. In the winter, it was so cold.
How cold was it?
You used to take a baseball bat and chop up the ice so the pool wouldn't because it was frozen.
Well, there was the 1 year we had that cold spell.
Yes.
And the water on the pool was like 6 to 8 inches thick. I could walk on it.
Amazing. I know. It was amazing.
But in the 25 years I've been here, that's the only time that happened, 1 year. Usually the ice would go away by itself by 10 a.m.
But back then it was colder. It was colder. That doesn't near happen now. It doesn't even feel like Christmas. It's so warm.
That's true.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're a believer in climate change.
Oh, I love seasons. Yeah, I love.
Well, no, I don't mean seasons changing. Climate change, like the Earth's climate is changing.
Oh, well, no, not necessarily.
You just said it's warmer now than it used to be.
It does seem to be, but there's...
Oops, I got off my talking points.
No. I understand what you're saying. I understand. I like seasons.
But every person who has ever been born and will ever be born has a naked body. Tricking people into thinking that human nudity is something inherently immoral, I think, is one of the greatest crimes religion has ever committed against our species.
Well, I'm all for nudity too, but those are sexual pictures. And
so you're making the case that some perps might not take this officer they've seen naked seriously, and police work does sometimes involve life and death situations.
Sure, you lose credibility. Of course.
Okay, I can see that element. But do you think she deserves to be fired over it?
Well, this is very
Perhaps
similar.
reprimanded?
Very similar to the story that you gave a couple of weeks ago.
The cop taking the pictures.
And those pictures were just art, nothing but art. Those
Absolutely.
pictures were exquisite.
And he was fired.
Yes, that's amazing.
And he didn't even pose nude.
This is inappropriate for an officer.
And he was very upfront about it. He advertised for models. When they contacted him, he told them that they were more than welcome to bring someone with them.
Sure.
And
they were beautiful pictures.
They were beautiful pictures.
Yeah, that's different. That's different than this.
And for his art, he was fired.
Yes, this is...
and now this girl may not be as artistic.
Yeah, but this is inappropriate.
Okay, tell me what you think of this.
I'm listening.
I can't find it. Oh, it's probably over here. No, it isn't. Oh, I had that story I wanted to tell you about what Paris Hilton said.
Oh, yes.
You know who Paris Hilton is, of course.
Yes, of course.
Oh, one other thing real quick. We may have a guest next week. I forgot this at the beginning of the show.
Uh-huh.
Next week, we may be joined by the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura. He is also a former U.S. Navy SEAL, professional wrestler, movie actor, and get this, a visiting fellow at Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I wouldn't picture Jesse Ventura in that role.
Okay.
Wrestler, yes. Visiting fellow, that sounds kind of...
I don't know what he looks like.
Oh, you never seen Jesse?
No.
Good grief. He's also a New York Times best-selling author.
Yes.
He is currently the host. You ever seen the television show Conspiracy Theory?
No.
He hosted.
Oh.
Anyhow, his new book is titled Democrips and Rebloodlicans, No More Gangs in Government. And Jesse Ventura, over the years, has developed a reputation as the ultimate nonpartisan truth seeker and has no qualms about questioning authority. Get this, his official website, weain'tgottime.bleed.com. That's Jesse Ventura, and he may be with us next week, folks. I should know by Monday. Stay tuned next week and find out. Until then, take care.